Welcome everyone to Loud and Proud Orlando. It's Monday, March the 10th at 6:35 p.m. Thank you so much for your support. My name is Luis Carlos Pineda. I'll be your host today. With me is Paola, and John should be joining in a few minutes. We have a jam-packed episode today. If you're watching or you're listening, thank you again for your support. You can find us you can find us, as always, we are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can find us on X at LPO_podcast, on Instagram and Loud and Proud Orlando, Facebook and YouTube. We are almost at 2K. So we are, I think, 1,400 subs or more. So thank you so much for your undevoted support. And yeah, obviously not the best of days. Double loss, the Pride loss on there for the Challenge Cup, and then Orlando City playing a shoebox. And as it was pretty much predicted, they lost against NYCFC 2-1. Now this is a game that definitely took tosses and turns, in my opinion. I feel like the Lions did the best I've seen in many years. Them playing at crappy pitch. I think the Lions look sharp. Um, Muriel had infinite chances to score before the goal. We'll discuss all of that and more. And obviously, what's being hot all over the interwebs is, you know, uh, everybody is taking the pitchforks out and lighting up the torches. They just went to Home Depot and Lowe's to get some gasoline because they're getting ready to burn a pulpo down. People are ganging up on El Pulpo. Obviously, we'll discuss, was this really a mistake? I feel like the second goal, yeah, could have been a little better, but who am I? I'm not a goalkeeper, you know. But then again, we'll discuss all of that and more. That had a lot to do with it. Yeah, but was it the catalyst of the mistakes that the Lions couldn't connect? Probably not, but we'll discuss all of that and more. Today we have the review of the loss against NYCFC. We'll talk about the OCB game, which gave Orlando City and the City Beautiful their first win of 2025. So kudos to Zakaria Taifi, to all the boys right there. Clap, 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 clap your hands. Clapper, clapper, happy clapper. That's my boy right there, happy clapper. He's definitely scored a goal as well. We're also then going to preview the Redbulls, and we have a guest coming up, an insider from the Redbulls world, which will discuss what happened to their jersey, man, because that jersey looks like I just went to Starbucks and spilled some coffee on it. But then we'll discuss all of that and more. Paula's with me. Paula, how are you?
I'm doing good. Luis, glad to be here as always. Could be better, right? But it is what it is.
Correct. It is what it is. Well, Orlando City went on the road to play in a roach box, a soap box, a baseball field. And obviously, unfortunately, playing in that pitch, 10-year anniversary of NYCFC. They made a huge deal about this night because it was 10 years of them in the MLS. And in those 10 years, I remember, if I'm not correct, they forced Orlando City to have a stadium, have a plan to develop a stadium. They told, we're not going to give you the MLS spot if you don't have a stadium. Orlando and Major Buddy Dyer, government and private, joined forces, provided the layouts of the stadium, and Orlando was allowed to play in Camping World Stadium until Interco Stadium was built. 10 years have passed, and they still don't have a stadium. So that's how the MLS works for you. But it was a celebration for them. The Lions were punished, unfortunately. the laughter, the joy, the atmosphere, the the great Muriel comeback lasted literally less than 30 seconds. They lost 2-1. Let's start from, I don't know, Paolo, if you, what are some of your, you came to this game expecting a win, expecting a loss, expecting a draw. And then when it ended, how did it make you feel?
I mean, to be honest, I wasn't expecting a not a lose like we or like not a loss, but a tied maybe. Um, they were playing good. Um, Defensive. We always have that left flank that we talked about it all the time here. That is not as great, but I thought that it was gonna be a 0-0 at the beginning. In the first half, they had possession in the first 15 minutes. I was like, oh, hold on. There's probably a goal from NYCFC, but they couldn't concede any goals, which was good. But then it got a little choppy, and then those two goals came in. Well, the first goal came in, then Muriel came back, and I'm like, okay, this is our momentum. We woke up. 30 seconds later, boom, a goal. I was like, oh, poor Muriel. He didn't even celebrate it. That goal, but I think it's a 50-50. A lot of people are um choosing or saying Galese's head, right? Let's chop Galese's head. But for me, that second goal, it was part of the defense line too, because Schlegel was just eyeballing us always. And then Galese had a little bit of two. So it's a 50-50. So I mean, it was it's sad obviously because I like the 3 points, but I mean, we need to fix our flaws right now. This is the time to fix anything, and not wait until the summer to be great.
This is the lineup in which NYCFC was playing against the Lions. You got Freeze right in the as your goalkeeper. He had a good night. You have a back four of O'Toole, Martins, Hack, and Hellenic. I feel Toole had a great night as well. Shore, to me, that kid definitely has a future. So good kudos on NYCFC for Shore. Maxi Morales. I think Orlando did a good job defensively to kind of neutralize Fernandez and Morales throughout the game. I mean, they had some lapses in which Morales was creating for sure, but Maxi's always been the most dangerous guy in NYCFC, at least for Orlando, because he's always scored against Orlando. And then we got John, John joining. How are you, John? And this game against NYCFC, man, what do you want to tell us about that?
What's up, guys? How you doing? Sorry, I'm late today.
It's okay,
Yeah,
man.
man. I mean, as suspected, we can't play baseball, right? New York City does he know how to play baseball? Yeah. So this one kind of goes as expected, but disappointing result on the road.
Yep, and then you have Orlando City. Orlando City coming with a pretty interesting lineup, but I think this made a lot of sense. I like the fact that Muriel started this game because I felt his game, and I don't know how Paola thinks. I felt his game and the way he would do those passes in the box would fit the size of this pitch. And I think with Atuesta and Araujo, I think Atuesta also had a 50-50 game, in my opinion. I think Araujo did a little better defensively. And then Alex Freeman with a second start in the lineup. Obviously, Dagerdan Thorhausen coming in as a substitution. Paula, what were your thoughts on the 4-2-3-1 lineup that Oscar Pereja brought out against NYCFC?
I mean, I didn't mind seeing Muriel starting. I was like, oh, perfect. Let's see what he can bring early into the game. He had his chances. Atuesta wasn't Atuesta on Saturday for sure. I don't know if he was confused of what sport is he was gonna play, was baseball or soccer, right? But um I think it fit well, but at the same time, he had his chances and he missed. I think I don't know. Should we give him another starting lineup and see if he can score goals, or Ramiro should be in? I will think I will see. We will see more of Muriel starting going forward in the future for the Lions. So
Yeah,
I
for
don't know
sure.
about John if he agrees or not.
I think this was like the perfect field to play Muriel because it
Yep.
was so tiny that it's like the guy doesn't have to run that far, and he's a very. I mean, I'm joking, but it plays into it, right? Like,
Come
you know what
on,
I mean?
man.
Like,
Look at this
honestly,
guy.
like he is a more technical player. He's better in the tight spaces. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you, Paula. I think that
Yeah.
he in the first half there was many chances that he's got to take,
Yeah.
and he didn't take those. He did get the one in the second half, and that was nicely taken, and that kind of reminded me of what the Muriel that we want to see. Running in on goal, puts a nice shot across goal. That was like vintage Muriel there for a second, but there was a lot of chances in the first half that he kind of, especially headers. There was a couple of headers that was really poor. So if he is going to be in the starting lineup, he's got to take better advantage of these chances.
Yeah. True that. Let's read some comments real quick, and then we'll dive into some of the highlights here. Giorgio, I'm not a fan of Gallese. I cannot blame him for defeat. You cannot equalize and concede right after a stupid goal because the defense was sleeping and Gallese didn't block the ball. It's painful. There you go. Davi 95, Hannes Wolf, 3 games with Orlando, 3 goals. Yeah, Wolf did a great game. Yeah, he had a really good game. I'm glad to see NYCFC trying to have be more of like a model of, with their homegrowns, and kind of similar to what Orlando City is doing right now, rather than buying up the whole MLS, to win. I think you guys are creating something exciting. I think that rivalry, in my opinion, is dying off a little bit. In the beginning, it was pretty big. Now I think it's dying off a little bit. JCB's 95. Buenas noches, everyone. Not our game. Not our game. And again, the defense did not show up. Galicia could have done better, but the defense left him exposed. Well, we'll discuss in just a second. I agree with you on that. Etihad Park is a month ahead of schedule too. Yeah, man. 11 years later, man. But maybe you gotta understand this. It's 11 years later, bro. It's okay. About it, NYCFC. I'm not a fan. Okay, yeah, we already talked about that. It says rules are different in 2013 for expansion, and also building in NYCFC is hard. Okay, boohoo. However, the stadium will be ready in a couple of seasons. There you go. No. So for the 15th
Nah,
anniversary.
I'm sorry, but
Yeah, for the 15th
there's
anniversary. Come
absolutely
on.
no
No
excuse for
excuse.
me. I'm sorry. The MLS just makes a rule for one market because they like that market. It's the same thing with Miami getting
Yeah.
Messi because, oh, we just want to make it happen. They just wanted a team in New York. So, that's what they did. And we got our stadium, and there's still no New York Stadium. So from our perspective, fair is fair, right? And this is unfair. So,
And we're
and
in
also,
Orlando,
it's a
by the way.
massive advantage for New York City.
It's
It's
huge.
proven. The stats are there. It is an advantage. Teams don't know how to play on that field. They know how to play on that field. They get wins because of that fact. So, and not only that, it's embarrassing. It really is.
Yeah.
Like Pasalic coming over from Europe, going to play his first away game in MLS, and he's going to Yankee Stadium, and they got a dirt corner. Nah,
Wow.
like that. I'm sorry, but there's no excuse. It's embarrassing.
I
Fix
forgot
it.
about that.
Well, you are fixing it, but they should have fixed it sooner. So
Victor Rosa, is that 10 completed seasons? Because NYC is definitely in their 11th. Yeah, I agree. I mean, they live in their 11th season. Good evening, Paula and John, and Vamos Orlando. Thank you, Kenneth. I want to ask Lewis if Orlando has planned some transfers. Nico Rodriguez trained today. He's considered to play on the next game. He's definitely going to be on the bench. When it comes to transfers, for the moment, there's nothing happening right now. I know there's going to be a lot of depth coming from OCB. I know, you have the ability of signing OCB players as you see fit for a game or two. And Orlando City, I do want to say, is going to be tapping on that throughout this whole entire season. So you're going to see Caraballo, you're going to see Thomas Williams, you're going to see probably Clapper, You're gonna hopefully see Solis. So those cats are definitely gonna have some minutes. So okay, so Orlando City, obviously Luis Muriel got the goal, and one, I think the last game he scored was in June of 2024, I believe. No, I know, actually, no. No. It was June 2024 was the last time he started in an Orlando City squad, John. June of 2024, he started for the Lions. So he got his start against NYCFC. Like you said, I felt this game was designed for him because of the short spaces. But in my opinion, I felt his consistency was just awful, man. I mean, I think he missed like 3 or 4 chances that could have had a different story. I love the partnership he built with Marco Pasalic. I think that's something good that we need to definitely keep an eye on, and the way the goal was set up, forcing Thiago Martins to kind of stay with him, and then Pasalic played off the ball. It was just perfect. So
yeah, I mean,
I don't.
If you look at the stats on Muriel from this game, it's 2 out of 6 goals, shots on target. So it's 33%. It's just not, if I'd have told you Enrique got that stat, everyone would be killing him. If Duncan McGuire got that stat, they'd be murdering him. So for me, a veteran and someone who should know where the net is, has scored a lot of goals in his career. 2 out of 6 on target. Even if he did score a goal, and yes, it was well taken, it's just not enough. From a DP, he's got to be more clinical than that. So great to see him score. Hopefully now this means more are going to come. But, I don't know. I honestly would still start Enrique personally. I think this was a one-off because, he wanted to give Enrique a rest, and this was a good time to play him.
I feel like that unpredictability of changing that lineup and putting Muriel as a starter kind of threw off New York, because probably they didn't have a lot of film. You know what I mean? I mean, one thing is having Muriel film when he's a sub, and another thing is having film of Muriel as a starter, and how is Oscar going to use him. And I think this is a perfect example on this is exactly what we paid for in a way, you know what I mean? I think $3 million, right? Paul, so this is the goal right here from Luis Muriel.
Orlando. Numbers in their favor. Real opening here. Muriel towards goal. Brilliant finish.
See what happens when you're not playing hot potato inside the box? I call it the hot potato game.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a beautiful transition play. Look, he's running. Boom.
To be honest, I thought that the NYCFC defender was gonna slide. I was like, oh, we're screwed.
No, this is be honest with you, this joy, because be honest with you, playing in this pitch is super tough. Not so much of the atmosphere, which kudos to the fans. They do a tremendous job there, but more than likely because the pitch, like you said, it's really should be not called soccer specific. It's just not right. But either way, the rules are the rules. We got to just play up and shut up, right? We have to play. Clearly, I would have been content with the draw. When I saw this, I was like, okay, Muriel is motivated. Here we go. He's going to score maybe a couple more. Boom, we're going to beat them on their own game. And then this occurred.
Here is Hannes Wolf. Martinez. Awkward for the goalkeeper. Back across goal and goes.
No, it was Parks. No, Wolf. Sorry. Yeah. So let's start from that. Now, I do want to say, right here, people say he could have catched the ball. and I think it's quite a good assessment. He could have catched the ball. He could have, gone like that, right? He could have, tried to do a one hand. I mean, we can sit here and say how many different ways he could have handled that, but obviously he didn't. Now, I do want to say, I felt like the back line also, what's not in the right position. But yeah, I think he dropped the ball here, in my opinion. I think it's obvious. Pedro could have done a little more here. I don't know. What are your thoughts there, John, regarding this bad save by El Pulpo, man?
Yeah, dude. There's zero excuse. There's nothing. It's terrible. It was
I
awful.
can't kill
It
Freeman
was
for this either. You know what
no.
I mean?
I mean, like they don't. The players don't react. Yes, but they don't expect it to happen, right? They think Pedro's got this, and Pedro don't got this. And I think it just. Yeah, there's no excuse, man. It's terrible. He had an awful game. He's had an awful start to the season. Yeah, and I know I'm not like, yo, get him out of there. He's the worst keeper in MLS. I'm not on that train because we've been here before with Pedro. Like he is just as much as you don't want that from your goalkeeper, sometimes he's hot and cold. And right now, I feel like Luis, and you know better than anyone, is he a guy that's very much on confidence, right? So when confidence is high, he's performing well, he's playing well, and it kind of perpetuates. I think when his confidence is low, it kind of compounds on that. He makes more mistakes. And I think having not started well in the season with the pitch here being very bouncy, he just looked nervous to me all game. Like he didn't know how to claim the ball in his own box. And I blame him for the first goal and the second goal. I think the first goal, he's just got to dive on it, even if he doesn't want to put his body on the line. And then the second goal, it's all on him. So if Pedro had played a better game, we might have come out of this game with a win, Luis, because the stats were pretty even. So yeah, just a bummer that he performed so badly, really. And I hope he can turn it around fast because he's gotta.
What about you, Paula?
I mean, yes, he hasn't had the start that we all want to, but at the same time, the backline hasn't been 100% helping him neither, right? So it's, for me, it's bias, right? It's a 50-50. I'm not, chosen to get the bench, but get him bench, right? But at the same time, I mean, Pedro, you should have done better, right? But I'm with you on John. I'm curious of. I mean, last year we saw him start the same way. I don't know if it's his confident, right? So
Now, I want to
no,
say, in his defense, if you go and look up on FootMob, he had an 8.0. Like
he's
he
the
got
best player in the entire.
yeah, he got 7 saves, like his shots, like face percentage is really good. Like he made several good saves, but everyone's not going to remember any of that. When you look back at this
No,
game, you're just going to
obviously.
remember the 2 ones he let in. So it's just the classic thing of being a goalkeeper, right? You can make 5 saves, but if you let the easiest 6th one just go in, that's it. I mean, that's all anyone's going to remember. So yeah, I think, and also that second one, it's such a bad error that you can't, it's inexcusable at this level of the game.
And I don't know if because I don't like the player, right? But you can see Santos. He should have marked the guy. He should have, like, I don't know, fake it or something. No, he's like, oh, there you go, bye. He saw the player just bypass him. So I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, I feel like you're right, though, Paula. I agree in the sense that when our back line looks shaky, like it has the beginning of this year, Pedro seems to suffer worse from that, right? I feel like he hasn't got the confidence. But also, I think sometimes it's just him not wanting to put his body on the line, and I understand that, like, he's getting older. It might just be like he's not willing to do the things that he was before. But that first goal, I really felt like he could have just dived on it and he would have prevented it. And as much as you don't, want some guy flying in the back of you and kicking you, That's what a goalkeeper does. You know, you got to dive on that ball. He didn't, and it went in. And then the second one is, that's all.
And you're right. You're right, right? But at the same time, does he feels the pressure that he knows that the defense has been shaking, and he needs to carry the team on in a defensive mindset? I don't know. He probably feels that pressure. I don't know. Pedro, come here.
Yeah.
Tell us.
I mean, I don't think that this is like gonna be Pedro for the rest of the year. I think some people are saying,
for sure.
"Oh, like this is it. He's cooked. He's never gonna be good again." I don't think that's true. I still think he can do a lot of the things that we want Pedro to do. I just think he is having a bad period right now, and he's gotta get out of it. But hey, if there's ever like a wake up call, it's that second goal. Like every goalie after that is looking at themselves, going, I must have a better next game. There's no way he didn't leave that game, thinking all week about how he's got to perform better against the Redbulls.
Yeah, sorry, I had some issues with my camera, but
Pedro. So we gave the good. And
Pedro.
I gotta say, Luis, he did get a very good rating on FootMob, and he did make 7 saves. So there was some good to Pedro in this game. I don't want to bag on him completely.
no, for sure.
We're only gonna remember those 2 errors. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just think people, in a way, they're entitled to their opinion, obviously, but they also got to know how did Pedro get here. You know what I mean? Pedro got here by being pretty much playing a crappy team in Mexico. Came here to, cost us the minimum. I think $400,000. I think that's what he cost coming into Orlando City. And truly, he really, Cesar Baena really took him under his wing, and really, Orlando City, really, if it would have not been for Orlando City, Pedro Gallese right now could have been at Best Buy, selling TVs, you know what I mean? And honestly, and thanks to how he's kind of grown here as a player, he's the number 1 goalkeeper in the history of Peruvian soccer. I put a video today on our socials regarding that. A lot of people are saying that he's the best goalkeeper that Peru has ever had. Now, with that being said, I think also when it comes to his stats and all of that, if you compare the stats of 2024, 23, and 22, the backline of Orlando City has allowed more goals each year. So you could also make that take. We've gotten worse defensively. To give you the right information, 34 games in 2023, 12 clean sheets, 39 goals conceded. 2024, 35 to 40 goals conceded. And 2022, 44 goals conceded. Now, before Oscar took the wing of the team and before Pedro got here, Orlando had 2 issues: crappy managers, 0 systems, and crappy goalkeepers. Keepers that wouldn't really live to the expectations. So now things have changed. And I understand for the new people that are joining Orlando City, Pedro should always perform 9 out of 10. But there's going to be times, as it happens in real life, that there's going to be games like this in which it makes you scratch your head. And I'm like, what the hell is he doing, right? Which, like John says, I agree with him. Hopefully this is the catalyst. And typically when he goes to play for the national team, when he comes back, he comes super motivated. I don't know if you noticed that, John. He comes back
it turned him around last year.
Yeah, now you have to understand also, Peru is not doing so great. So in a way, he may have a lot of more games played with Orlando this year, because after this, if Peru loses against Bolivia or Venezuela, it's over. It's done. And so he might spend more time with us. So just to give you some information, Pedro Gallese is going to miss the game against DC United at home, because he's going to be playing against, he was called up for Peru. He's going to play against Bolivia and against Venezuela. Now, who do we have in the back line behind Pedro? Do you guys feel? A lot of people are saying online that they don't feel confident with what's behind Pedro. A lot of people say that he needs, I don't know, competition, or that Mercado and Otero are not good competition for him. I don't know how you feel. I mean, Mercado had a monster night. I don't know if you're watching OCB. He had a monster night.
Mercado did have a monster night.
He had a monster night.
I'm honestly though, I'm excited by Javier Otero. Really,
Me too.
I know he's 22 years old, but also what do people expect from a backup goalkeeper? They're a backup goalkeeper. like I know everybody wants a roster where you have your secondary goalkeeper is almost as good as your first, but with MLS roster budgets and the way that you gotta squeeze the penny, like you're not gonna be like, yeah, we want to go pay out. And Pedro is on a lot of money. He's one of the highest paid goalkeepers in the league. So
in the MLS,
if they've got a certain amount of wages for goalkeeper budget, they might be like, we're gonna roll with Otero because we think he's good enough to cover, and he's cheap, and we're gonna keep him, right? I'm all about it because he's 6'6", and I love a goalkeeper that's massive. I've heard some good things. He obviously had some good looks with the Venezuelan national team. He's kind of been into their camp cupcake, right? The camp that gets called up when all the other internationals are not available, the ones that play in Europe. So he has had some international experience, even at the young age of 22. How good he's going to be, no idea. So, if you put him in, is that going to be better than Pedro right now? Maybe, maybe not. If people want to go out and get an MLS veteran guy, if you're really not sure about Pedro for the rest of the season, that maybe the club will do. But I just don't see it, man. I think there's other more important parts of the squad that we seen how much GAM we got left, right? How much salary cap, right? So we're gonna go spend that on other positions, in my opinion. I don't think that Luis and Ricardo view the goalkeeper situation as a problem. I think they're just like, Pedro will figure it out, and Otero is the backup.
And then Mercado's having a hot moment.
Mercado,
and
really
the kid behind Mercado, the American kid, that kid's so promising too.
He just got signed up.
So look, I know people are freaking out. Like, all I'm saying is, remember the good times. Pedro Gallese, guys, whether you like it or not, has become an institution for Orlando City. Clearly, if right now, who's the best goalkeeper in history of Orlando City? I mean, with all the respect of my good friend Miguel Gallardo, which a lot of people are going to be always forever. And
Club legend.
I might speak in blasphemy right now, but I think Pedro Gallese has one up.
I feel like with all stats, we should just separate it into like legends of the USL era and then legends of MLS, right?
But what I'm saying is Pedro Gallese has become like a really important piece of the puzzle. So I really doubt, thinking as the club, that they're going to make any sort of move or any sort of so I think this, there's no excuse for the bad takes, clearly.
No.
There's no excuse, but also we have to realize, and we have to make accurate opinions too, in a way, we can't just say, this sucks, man. We just can't. That's not, you have to think it through.
How many times has Pedro made some insane saves that have won us games that we had no right winning? Is that it balances out? Yes, he's playing terribly right now, but it'll come good. And if he doesn't come good, then in the summer we'll go find a goalkeeper. But it's the third game in. They're not gonna They're not gonna boot him after 3 games.
Now, aside of this, obviously this is a tough loss for the Lions because they could have closed it in. And it shows that, overall in the last 3 games, to me, one thing that I take that it's really concerning more than Pedro, in my opinion, I don't know what Paola thinks, is Jansen returns to the starting lineup against NYCFC, but he didn't look like he was Robin Jansen, clearly. He had Santos, Rodrigo, Freeman, and I just think he had he kind of looked a little tired, you know. Now, before when our more successful defensive season, which was 2023, we had the backline of Antonio Carlos, Robin Jansen, Kyle Smith, you know, and Joao Moutinho, I believe. So what happened? You know, I feel that could be also. I mean, to me, the defense was rusty a little bit. I don't know what are your thoughts there, Paola? I think
Yeah.
NYCFC easily was able to establish their game offensively.
Yeah, when you had issues, I was telling John that yes, Galese had a bad game, but at the same time, the defense has been shaky, man. Like we haven't been 100%. And I think, and I was telling John, probably Galese feel that pressure that he doesn't have a 100% defense line, right? And he is okay, let me put the defense in my shoulders to be able to play the game. I don't know. I'm making up things, right? Not making excuses, but yeah, we haven't been consistent, and that's something that I have been open in many of our pods. We need a better left back, man. Like that left back position, I always will be criticizing him because he thinks sometimes that he's a winger. He forgets to go back and defend that place. So I think since Joao has been out, has been a big hole in that line. So that's my take.
No, I'm not saying that we need to bring Joao Moutinho back, but
Exactly,
I do
exactly.
feel
Me neither.
Have we ever had an amazing left back in MLS here? Maybe Yoshi Yotun, but he was like a left winger. Like he wasn't really a true
But
left back.
Yotun was a midfielder, right?
Well, he played left back though for us. He was
Oh
a
yeah, that's
midfielder,
true.
but he
At one
did.
point, yeah.
Honestly, like we've had some great right backs. It's just left back. I'm always struggling to be like who we had who
I'm
really
content
impressed
with
us.
I'm content with Freeman right now. I think Freeman right now
Freeman was like our best player on the back line,
Yeah.
man. Like, how is that the 19-year-old who's getting the starts finally is the best player in the back line? Like,
it's
got to improve. I
He
think
even
the
went
whole
to the net and
pitch
everything.
was the whole field was crowded. So if you look at how much space there was between the goalkeeper's box and the actual sideline, it's like no space at all. So how Alex Freeman had space to play was that I don't know, because there was nowhere to run. Like honestly, the same thing with Santos. Like, you know, we play with overlapping wing backs.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that when your pitch is so narrow that there's literally no space to overlap in. So like Pasalic would just run off the edge of the field, and he's not even a guy who's that wide half the time. So I think that just made everything so congested, and our defense really struggled because that benefit NYCFC so much because they're so technical and they can play in tight spaces, and they would do that in front of our defense. That's how the second goal came about. You know, quick passes, 1-2s, back and forth, and our defense was just like, we don't know where y'all are going. Not only that, we couldn't win the ball back either because it's, you know, bouncing up and down, and we just couldn't read it half the time. So they all just look kind of a bit like headless chicken this game. No lies. Like they looked a bit lost out there in defense for sure.
I understand fans look at our roster and they always say, you know, hey, you know, we don't have the names that San Diego has, so we don't have the names Galaxy has. Now, mind you, Galaxy has lost the last 3 games. It's the first MLS champ in history that has lost the first 3 games in the MLS. So FYI. And they're comparing themselves with Miami, with Atlanta, with, you know, and now I want to show you this right here and why the front office and why the club feels confident on our academy. Freeman, Caraballo, O'Toole. Now, that was a red card. And that's a 16-year-old Caraballo. And that was a 19-year-old Freeman. That's Orlando City now. So suck it in. That's Orlando City now. Welcome to Orlando City.
We got the youth.
The youth.
I got the youth.
And O'Toole is also a great prospect for NYCFC. He lost his school. This little kid, Caraballo, man, with a lot of huevos. I'm talking about a lot of balls. He comes up and he plays as if it was a regular ass game for him, like with a lot of edge, a lot of personality. These are all youth players that have tons of personality. Now, that's the Orlando model. That's the Orlando model right there for you. So I think that they feel that confident. Now, yes, and I do want to say, and I agree with the fans when they say that our backline is suffering. It's been suffering the past few seasons. We made the Eastern Conference Finals, but we're still allowing tons of goals. I think John has mentioned it tons of times. We need, to keep it in layman's terms, and we need 2 Atuesta signings for the backline. You know, like that type of level signing.
I feel like Jansen, you know, when he has time and he's back, I would love to see Jansen and Brekalo consistently this year. And I think those two could be good enough at center back. Right back, I'm not worried about it at all. I would like to go spend TAM level money on a left back. And we've said this a lot. That's really all that money we have left. If you don't go get a striker or a D-mid or anything else, just go spend all that on a left back. And I think that would greatly help our prospects. You know, I think it's a real problem in our squad. I do want to say, you know, NYCFC did play some decent ball.
Yeah, I know for sure.
Davy in the comments here saying there could have been more. Like Julian could have had 4.
Yeah.
Like I want to say Martinez, the Costa Rican,
great.
Looks very good. So
super signing.
Kudos to you, Davy. You got a baller there.
Baller.
You know, he looks really well, and they did play some good ball at times. The New York City that we expect at home to be difficult to play against. That's what we got. I feel like we play better there than we have in other times.
Yeah,
honestly, like attacking wise, it wasn't terrible.
It wasn't terrible. No.
Other games I watch us, and I know people are like, "Oh, y'all are like." Happy about us looking bad. That's so depressing. But honestly, compared to other games at this stadium, it was okay. Like I usually, when I'm gonna watch this game, I'm like zero hype. Like I don't want to watch this. We're gonna just look terrible, and we did at times, but it was better than other performances I think we've had in that stadium, and that's really why I was so annoyed at Pedro, because we could have got a draw at this game. Honestly, we could have got a 1-1 or a 2-2 or something, or a 0-0, you know, but it just, you know, those, especially that second goal was just a real failure by him there.
Now, people are saying also that, you know, obviously NYCFC ended up with 10 men because of that foul of O'Toole. Orlando should have capitalized on that. I feel that's another thing that I felt, they attempted to, they created a lot of chances. They just couldn't convert. That is something else that
it was all us after that red card.
Yeah,
so
it was literally all
the red card didn't come till what, the 80 something, 86th.
Right.
So you know, we went for it, but there just wasn't enough time to get that goal.
Yep.
Right.
So So let's do some comments real quick, and then we're gonna dive into OCB, more happy news, and then after that we'll dive into new Redbulls. Let's see. Victor Rosa, nobody's questioning Pedro's history, but sports has always show me what you've done lately. I agree, but when, like, you know, you have players in each soccer team that are institutions. You know, Tati Castellano in NYCFC, I'll say he's an institution for that club. Alexander Callens as well. Maybe in Columbus it'll be Cucho, right? Or, you know, so there's players, Andres Mendoza at some point, if people from Columbus remember that kid. Wayne Rooney in DC. These are players that have made a difference in that club. In our case, it is a guy like Pedro. So, you know, if you put in a really big balance sheet, laughter, joy, love moments that Pedro has provided for you against poop and caca, you will probably, the good is going to outweigh the bad. Now, what I'm saying is, I feel it's a little overreacting a bit for some people to already start calling out heads, and then we need to fire him, then blah blah blah, we need to get another keeper. In my country it says huevada y media, it's stupid, and literally, rather than making a conscious comment like yours, sir, you know what I mean? That's a conscious comment, because eventually what's going to happen is those guys that right now, March the 10th, are saying that in June, they're going to be like, Pedro, I love you, bro. Thank you, man. So it just makes us look like, we're fans, man, Salty, we need consistency to be a top 4 team, though. Thank you so much, Salty. William Diaz, not saying Pedro needs to go to the bench, but it would hurt to give Otero a look in the U.S. Open Cup. I agree, 110%. It's time to Otero to prove himself in the U.S. Open. 8 goals in 3 games. Yep, that is huge. And we discussed that right now. IMO, in my opinion, should have been more than 2-1. I already read that. Thank you so much, Davi. There you go. He's a professional goalie. That's not acceptable. There you go. So we have our guest who just joined. I want to introduce her. I don't know. We don't have our guest yet. It was the screen. It was the screen that you were showing.
It's me. Let's talk OCB before our guest gets here. Alrighty. OCB yesterday was an epic opener for them. Here is the lineup. They played at home. Javier Mercado. Is it Javier? I want to check that. Sorry, Carlos Mercado had a great game in goal, number 99 there. Zachariah Taifi playing at right back, scored the winning goal. If you haven't watched that yet, I recommend everybody go watch it because it was a great goal from a guy that we've watched through the academy for many years, get more and more time with OCB, and now really seems to be one of the key players in this back line and for OCB this year. Excuse me. You also got Platts, Williams, and Reed and Brown in the back line. Judelson, a new player here in the mid. Colin Gusky. You also had Shaq Muhammad playing right wing. New signing, Klapia, playing on the left wing, who scored a banger of a goal. Absolutely smashed it in the back of the net for the home opener. And then Ellis up top, as well as Velez. So, Justin Ellis, a guy that we've talked about a lot. He got the start in this one, an exciting prospect up top. So some players that we knew from last year, Luis, but a couple of new guys on the bench. Who we got on the bench? So Caraballo made it back to be on the bench, of course.
Talis.
Abdullahi was a new signing is on the bench. Himes is a new signing on the bench. Talis is a new signing on the bench. Some guys that were promoted from the academy also on the bench. Lots of new names. We're going to have to learn who these players are and where they go, what they do. But overall for OCB, it was a very good 2-1 win. Klapia in the first 10 minutes. And then Taifi beginning of the second half with a wonderful goal. And then finally, the rest of the game was really just Columbus Crew trying to chase it, Luis. And you can see here in the 89th minute, they got a goal back from Ferdinand, who was just kind of lurking at the back post and wasn't picked up and had a good shot in on goal. So OCB with a home win on their first day. They were the only team this weekend that managed to get a win over the line. Pride lost on penalties in the Challenge Cup. Of course, we lost to NYCFC. So congrats, OCB, for getting that 3 points and starting the year off right. Luis, any takeaways apart from what I said on OCB? We're going to try and cover this every Monday that they've had a game, fit a little bit of time for OCB in.
No, for sure. I mean, playing against the first team and with the first team, it's paying dividends for the squad. Being so close to the first team, it makes Oscar also and the front office confident that these kids may be ready. It's not going to be a surprise to possibly, God forbid, something may happen with Freeman. May see Taifi stepping up. Colin Gusky is already in the first team. You have, to me, and one of the prospects that's most exciting, at least to me, it's Justin Ellis, because he killed it on the under-17s. He's an American prospect. I think he'd be tremendous. And obviously, we need more attackers for Orlando City. Now, obviously, this is a player that I would love to see in the U.S. Open Cup or even in the Leagues Cup. But definitely the future is purple, man. It's just tremendous, and the atmosphere. One thing that I was told today was the atmosphere at Osceola Heritage Park. There's people chanting. It looks like a regular game, very grassroots. Highly recommend for all the STMs that get the chance to go to those games. Fantastic, man. Kudos to you. But I'm so happy for the boys, man. They certainly deserve it. And if they're watching, thank you guys. Amazing, amazing, amazing job.
For sure. We're going to try and keep up with OCB this year. I'm going to try and get out some games when I have a free evening on the weekend without also going to the Pride and the City games. I don't know how these season ticket members do that. If you are someone who goes to all 3 games when it's a whole weekend, then salute to you, because I don't know many
You're the
people
real
that do
MVP.
that. Yeah, you are the true super fans if you make it to all 3 home games in a weekend. But OCB definitely exciting, and like you said, Luis, there's a stronger link than ever before between OCB and the first team. So keeping an eye on who's doing well in that system is really important. Last year we're kind of keep abreast of what was happening in OCB, and obviously Alex Freeman was the one to have a breakout year. Now look where he is. So these guys are just a step away from being in the first team. A great start for OCB, 3 points on the board. And look, they're above New York Redbulls too, which nicely brings us into Andrew, who has joined us from the designated players. And it's our New York Redbulls 1 and 2. I'm sure he could tell you things about 2. Correspondent Andrew, how are you, bud?
I mean, I've been here for 32 seconds and I'm catching strays already. That's wild.
You came at the wrong time.
I love it. Honestly, I can't tell you much about Red Bull 2. I wish I could, but it turns over so frequently. I don't know much about them, unfortunately, but I'm good. Thanks so much for having me, y'all. I'm really excited to be here. Glad we can make this work.
Of course. All righty. We're going to get into our preview for next week's game. Luis, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. So the next game that Orlando City is playing is against the Red Bulls. Obviously, everybody remembers the game for the Eastern Conference Finals. We're gonna be playing on a real stadium, right? Well, that's great. To me, I feel it's one of the best teams in the East right now. Definitely somebody that we need to definitely direct contender, at least for the Lions in the East. They were able to keep their core just like Orlando City, and added some cool pieces as well. They're definitely going to be a tough opponent. Throughout history, we've had a really civil relationship with the Red Bulls. Some wins, some losses here and there. But overall, it's always been a fun game to play against them. Very competitive. The press and the way they handle their attacking third is spot on. Just kind of like what we're doing as well, or what we did last year, and why we made it also to play against them in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I don't know. I come with the expectations of hopefully, getting a result. I'll be content with the draw, but I feel like, they're going to have that bad taste in their mouth after what happened, especially Pedro being his last game before going with Peru, of what happened in Yankee Stadium. My friend Andrew, what are your thoughts on what's coming? What's your expectations for the game against Orlando City?
I will tell you, I was actually in the stadium for the Atlanta game last week. This team is nothing different from what they were last year. We are defensively strong. We are offensively disappointing, for lack of a better term. We really don't have much going on out there. We're true. The thing that I noticed the most was, especially against better teams, which I would put Orlando in that category. It's very much possession without a purpose, kill the game, make it boring, make it slow, bore people to death, and then maybe we get one on the counter. But unfortunately, our front three is Emil Forsberg, who is 32, Choupo-Moting, who is 35, and insert other player here who has been a rotation of players because of injuries. So I think Lewis Morgan's out. Mohamed Sofo, who looked really good, he was out. Vicky Carmona's gotten time. There are a couple of other people who've rolled in there, but for the most part, our counterattack is about as fast as I am in my Sunday league. So it's just there's nothing really inspiring at the moment. I will say that when we're at home, we have a little bit more bite in the press. We didn't see it a lot in Atlanta, where they were very much more content to say, we're going to sit back and not let you beat us over the top. And we're going to absorb pressure kind of in the middle third, which worked for them, of course, 0-0 against Atlanta. But there's not, I think at home, you'll see a little bit more of the press, which should be exciting because we always get fueled by the fans there. So I'm excited, of course, always excited for a game day, but the team itself with the players that it has doesn't spark like, exciting, LAFC counterattack or Inter Miami big start. Like they're just there. They're scrappy, they're ugly, they make it boring, and it works, but it's not brilliant, beautiful football.
I'm going to throw it to Paula because I know she's got to go in a second. So I wanted to get her kind of predictions and thoughts on the Red Bulls game.
I mean, since Andrew just gave us a little bit of inside scoop of their offensive players, no, I would say 2-0 now. I was gonna say 2-1, but 2-0. Even though, Andrew, probably you know this, our defense is not as great as before, right? Right now it's a little bit shaky. But I will say 2-2 new. So 2-0.
All right.
Wow. Paula's got a lot of confidence here. I'm not feeling confident about this one, I gotta say. Did you watch us against Philly? Because we cannot handle the press at all. So if you guys press us right now, our back line, I'm not feeling confident. I feel like mistakes will happen. So I know that you're not excited about your attack, and I completely agree that is your game plan of just wait for a mistake and then pounce on that mistake. But it's worked for you before against us. It literally worked in the final, so I think it's going to happen. I want to talk to you about Choupo-Moting, though. I wore my Stoke shirt just for today, so we can talk about the interesting man that is Choupo-Moting. If anyone doesn't know about this guy, this is a man that has an incredible career across Europe, playing for some of the biggest clubs.
Bayern Munich, right?
In the world. He's played for like Bayern Munich, PSG, Stoke City, obviously one of the biggest clubs in the world, and many, many more. Every single time he makes a transfer, it's for zero amount. He's never had a transfer fee. He obviously, I don't know what his agent does, but this man's agent I want to meet him one day and say, how do you get Choupo-Moting, a guy that is really just always been very average and someone that would be a super sub for these super teams who'd come on for the last 10 minutes and put a goal in every now and then. How has he managed to then get a DP contract with the Red Bulls, Andrew? I don't know, but I suspect you're figuring out what I already kind of know, is the guy is just not that good and really old and slow now.
Well, he's the definition of falling upwards, right? Like he goes from mid-table Germany to mid-table Prem to top of France to top of Germany and now to the best club in the world, New York Red Bull. Like, I don't know how he continues to take steps forward like that, but he does. Yes, well done. Very slow. Loves to turn in moments he shouldn't turn. It is the thing that is ruined. Like, it's driven me crazy. The last 3 games, he's come in and it feels like he thought, oh, it's just MLS. I can do whatever I want. I mean, he's got 4 guys on his back. It's like, I'm going to turn you and split all of you and go forward. It's like he's lost the ball more times than he's kept it. He's getting out of that habit a little bit. But the problem is once he plays really well back to goal. He's strong in the air. He's very, very solid in that sense. But usually once you lay it off and go, you have that pace to get in behind. He doesn't have that. So when we play him in behind, he loses a foot race. The problem is we can't really get it out to the other side because the other side is Emil Forsberg, who also is losing that foot race. So there's not a ton of explosiveness going forward. And this team is also extremely injured, by the way. Like I talked about Lewis Morgan and Sofo, but I mean, I think we're in week 3 and we're 9 deep on the injury list already, and they're like significant contributors. So, to get a point out of Atlanta, we were happy with. But I would say that we're still defensively strong. We might catch you on 1 or 2 here, but I think we got 2 teams who are coming together who are just really not enthralled with their team, right?
Yeah,
When you see this picture, Andrew, what do you think when you see this picture?
What's that? Oh, King Jurgen, love it.
What about
I hate the kit. I hate the kit, but I like the guy.
Oh,
bro, what
I'm
happened?
glad you hate
there?
the kid. That's good.
What happened with that kit, man? Did they spill coffee on it? Well, what happened there?
I had heard through other podcasts, I think it was Seeing Red that was talking about this, that the way Red Bull work is any color that is featured in their cans can be featured in a kit. So this is on some like spin-off flavor that they've never, you've seen like once in your life, and they've thrown it into a kit. It's awful. It does look better in person, I will tell you. It looks better in person, but it's still not great.
Wow, interesting. No,
yeah, it kind of looks like dirty dishwater to me, bro. I gotta say,
Yeah,
I'm glad you don't like it, because other people that were like, "Yo, this is the MLS kit," reviews that everyone loves to do. There were some wild takes, and some people think that's a nice kit. I'm sorry, it's really not. So, yeah, I'm excited though for this matchup, dude. I feel like there's a lot of revenge here, right, Luis?
No, for sure. I mean, it's going to be a tough game. Now, I do want to ask Andrew as well, more on a serious note. What are your thoughts on Marcelo Morales? How's he adapting to the MLS? He was a highly regarded left wing back in Chile. He played for one of the biggest teams there, Universidad de Chile. I just was wondering how's he doing there in Jersey.
Well, I mentioned our very long list of injuries.
He hasn't even started.
He has yet to play a game. He has yet to. I don't know if he's trained more than a couple of games, which is the problem, right? Because we have. And again, I'll give you some. Not like you're going to be able to tell the boys at Orlando this, but our left back is kind of my biggest concern, right? We've got Omar Valencia, who has not shown me enough to be considered my out and out left wing back. He's very good going forward, explosive, really high in the press. But when you get him stuck into a back 5 to try and defend stuff that's in front of him, he gets lost a little bit, and he's not strong in tackles, and he does a lot of recovery defending. So he doesn't get beat 100%, but he does a lot where, he gives away corners and he gives away fouls that he probably shouldn't. And he's 20 years old. He's got a lot to learn, but he's and very high ceiling, but he's just not quite there yet. The backup to him is Raheem Edwards, who, how do I put this nicely? Not good at soccer. Just straight up not good at soccer. Like, he looks like and this hurts me because he was my player to watch for Red Bull this year. I was so excited to be like, we've got experience at the left back. We've got a player who, has been to all these different clubs, and he just does not look good. He just looks like he's lost. He's behind. He was supposed to be apparently the 3rd string behind Valencia and Morales, and now Valencia is, iffy, and Morales is hurt. So like, okay, what else are we gonna do? He doesn't look ideal. Now, again, it's his 2nd game that we saw him. He hasn't started yet, but I don't expect to see him much more. We're really hoping for Morales to come back. But yeah, if you're going to attack us, and I think that's Pasalic's side, right, going up against the left back there. I mean, it's going to be
and Alex Freeman too, man.
That's the one
I would watch out. Alex Freeman is looking like an absolute baller for us right now. So that right side of our attack is really our main strength, I would say. The left side. You got to watch out for Rafa Santos. He's going to get up there, but he's also a big disadvantage for us. So you can, if you're going to exploit some part of our defense, I'd say that left side for us, right side for your attack would be the way, because we've looked shaky. Rafa Santos has not performed well in preseason. Looked a little better last game, but not much. And then also our back line, we've had some injuries, not nearly as bad as you. Clearly, I didn't realize it gotten that bad, and I feel, I feel like we're not that bad. I'm quite happy
No.
about our injury situation after looking at this. One that's big for me is Lewis Morgan, dude. Like him being out, he is he is
He
a
definitely
thorn in
doesn't
our
like Orlando
side,
City.
man.
He doesn't
He
like Orlando.
always scores against us, so the fans will be happy to see Lewis Morgan not on the team sheet. But yeah, I feel like you guys, the way that you attack and the way that you play is going to be dangerous against us, no matter who you put out there, in my opinion, because we are susceptible to that press and we have looked shaky in the back line. I'm intrigued by this kid who got the start last time, Julian Hull. You said, striker by committee right now up top next to Choupo-Moting. So I guess an academy prospect, 16-year-old kid. Did he play well at all?
Yeah, so he is showing a lot better. So he actually got his first minutes at 15. He is the third youngest goal scorer in MLS history, and third. And these stats may be wrong. I'm trying to pull them off. He's definitely the third youngest Red Bull to get a start, and I believe he is the second or third youngest player to score a game-winning goal. Something along those lines of.
Interesting.
He's gotten on the end of things. He's done well. And he's growing into the game at the adult level, right? He's still a kid. He's 16. But you can definitely see, like, when we were in Orlando and I saw him, like, celebrating the game, you looked at it, you're like, oh, that's a child. Like, that kid should be in middle school. Like, it's terrifying. But, I watched him play today. He's grown into his body a little bit. He's understood the game a little bit more. He's got great pace. He's not afraid of the game. But he's still 16 playing against 30-year-old men. Like, you can tell. Right. So it will come for him. I don't know if it will come very soon, but it will come for him.
You guys sign one of another players that comes from your, the guy from Ghana, Mohamed Sofo.
Yep.
Right.
I like him.
He now I think he, to me, is the ace of spades of this team, John. I think, to me, Mohamed Sofo, I've been watching. He scored against I believe it was Nashville. You guys play against? Yep, Nashville.
Yes,
yeah,
they scored against.
Yep, and Forsberg did too, I believe. And
Choupo-Moting
got
to be back for this one. Is he out as well?
Sofo was injured on the end of the Nashville game, so he didn't get an appearance. I believe he did make the bench though.
He should be able to have minutes against Orlando City. And I mean, that guy is on the 1v1. He's like an Ivan Angulo type.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dude. And with a little bit more of a build, because Angulo's a little shorter. Mm-hmm. This kid's like a little taller. It's kind of like Richie Larea, but more of like a forward, not so much of a defender. Very crafty on the 1v1. So I think that's somebody that our Rafa Santos is going to have to, or Kyle Smith. The accountant. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, he was one of those players when he got the start against Nashville, because again, we're doing this committee thing. I was like, ooh, haven't heard much of him. He did well at 2, but we've had a lot of players, Tom Barlow included, who's done very well at 2, and haven't shown up in the first team. And he looks like another one of those guys who's just going to fit straight into the system. He's going to do really, really well. Brave, athletic, quick, not afraid of anything that's in front of him, and not afraid to take people on. That's the one thing, the attack that we've had for so long has just been dump over and track, jump over and track, dump over and track, right? And we haven't seen a lot of flair. You've got Lewis Morgan, who has that ability, but mainly just takes people on with his pace, right? This kid has a little bit more about him, and I'm really excited. I hope he gets healthy soon, because I think he can be a very big contributor to our group if he can stay healthy. But, Serge Ngoma was the same way. He came in and was a bright spark of excitement, and then he's been hurt for the last 2.5 years now, it feels like. I mean, we just can't get any of these bright guys healthy. So kind of just keeping fingers crossed and hope they play well.
So in terms of a lineup, you feel like it's going to be similar to the one you saw against Atlanta, or can you think there's going to be any differences for the Red Bulls?
Yeah, well, it really depends on who's healthy at this point, right? I don't think you see a shape change. I think we really settled in our 3 kind of 4-1-2-2-1, depending on if Emil Forsberg wants to hang out at the top or hang out in the middle. He's not running anywhere, so wherever he wants to hang out is where the shape is going to mold around. But we've kind of had a rotating committee of center backs between Sean Nealis and Noah Isla, and then it has either been Dylan Nealis or it's been Alexander Hack, the new guy from Germany. All of them have played well enough, right? No real questions there. We really don't have anybody else at left wing back, so it's going to probably be Omar Valencia again. Right wing back is going to be interesting. You're going to see either Dennis Yangor, who is a very similar to Cam Harper, where he's a right winger converted back. If we want a bit more attacking, or you'll see somebody. Maybe you'll see Dylan Nealis shifted out wide to play in that role. If Ronald Doncourt comes back a bit healthy, he can slide into there, but he was out last week too. Kyle Duncan's been out. He fills in there. So we're really thin there. The real question is going to be in the midfield. It's been Peter Stroud and Danny Edelman, both of which are ball-winning destroyers who have a propensity to never play the ball forward. I think Danny Edelman in 90 minutes played the ball forward 3 times. He had
That's not what you want from a counter-attacking team, Andrew.
No, it killed me. I was watching the whole game like, hey, we've got 3v3 up there. Let's get it forward. And every time Danny Edelman got the ball, it goes backwards. And we kept the ball, and that's great and whatever. But I mean, we just had no desire to go forward. So, if we want to add somebody in there who maybe gives us a little bit more
creativity
attacking. Yeah. So Felipe Carballo, who is another guy who is been injured and kind of working his way back. He's a central midfielder. We have him on loan from Gremio. He can come in and when he joined the match in Atlanta, you saw the instant switch, right? Instant switch where he was trying to take players on and go forward and advance the ball. And it was a really nice addition to the group. He might be somebody who can get minutes if he is ready to go. I would like to see him in there. We definitely missed him in the MLS Cup run. It would have been nice to have him around. But outside that, again, it's Vicky Carmona, who I never liked in that kind of central mid role. He's better in the attacking role. And then everybody else is hurt. So it's going to be what we like to see. So if I had to guess, my guess is going to be Edelman and Carballo to start. If we can get one in the press early, Edelman and Stroud to start. If we can get one in the press early, because they are ball hawks. They just win the ball. They go for 90 minutes as hard as they can, as fast as they can. If we can get 1 or 2 early, then you'll see Carballo come in to kind of settle things up and work it out that way. But yeah, you're still going to see Emil Forsberg. You're still going to see Choupo-Moting, and then whoever plays in that right attacking forward spot, whether it be Julian Hall, whether it be Sofo if he's healthy, whether it be Vicky Carmona, whoever it may be. You're going to see one of that. But yeah, you're going to see a 3-4-1-2, 3-4-2-1. It's not going to change very much. It's probably going to be defensive minded. It's probably going to be dull and boring and ugly, but we'll try and nick one. So that's the way we do it.
Do you want to do the starting 11, John?
Yeah, we'll do our starting 11 real quick, and then we'll get predictions from all of us. So Pedro Gallese, despite a terrible last game, he's still going to be our starting goalkeeper, even though he's got the yips at the moment. Jansen is going to go in there. I'm sure he looked fit enough, and I'm sure they're going to want more minutes for him. I'm sure Schlegel, I would love to see David Brekalo around, but he has a shoulder thing, so we don't know what's up with that. Hopefully he comes back at some point. Left back's going to be Santos, of course. Really, our only left back option at the moment. We talked about that.
Yeah, he just
Freeman again at right back. I think Dagger Down, as much as I love him, is going to be a super sub for a while. And then our 2 D mids, of course, Cesar and Atuesta. They picked themselves as our strongest 2 D mids. I'm excited. You're talking about people that can't pass the ball forward. Well, I feel like as much as I love Wilder and Cesar, sometimes that was their limitation. And Atuesta, that is not the problem. That guy turns every time he passes the ball forward. So he's been looking good for us. Then Ojeda in the 10 is our new guy, our new talisman. Pasalic on the right wing, Angulo on the left wing. And I think Ramiro Enrique is going to get his start back. I think even though Luis Muriel... Luis Muriel scored, I think that was a one-time Oscar. I'm going to put you in because we're playing in a tiny field deal. Honestly, I think if you want to try and press back at the Redbulls, you can't start Luis Muriel. I think we have to try and break back a little bit, or else they're just going to pen us back so much with their high press. We have to be able to press as well. And I think that's why you need Ramiro in there instead of Muriel. So controversial. Everyone might call me a Muriel hater after he scored a goal, but yeah, I still want to start Ramiro.
I mean, when you put it when you put it that way, when it comes to the press, yes, that makes sense. I mean, to have Ramiro there, because Muriel is definitely a
You
player
got no
that
press with Muriel.
he's gonna press, but he's gonna press something else. It's just not the press, it's not the press that you want. But yeah, I mean, when it's a game that I see the unpredictability of Ramiro Enrique. What concerns me is that the center back duo of the Redbulls is twice the size of Ramiro. So they're
But
gonna
they're
have,
also twice the size of Muriel. Like we
no,
don't
I
have
think
a
with
big
Muriel there's a
striker.
little bit more size, but
Yeah, a little bit.
there's not a lot of speed.
No, there's no
That's the
jumping
problem.
for Muriel. I'll tell you that. Enrique will jump.
So Enrique will fight it out, but at least Enrique could also give an assist, just like Muriel as well. But I feel like with Ramiro, like you said, that back and forth defensively. So, for example, that kid that goes in transition, the Ghanaian kid, Sofo, goes in transition, and let's say Ramiro is past Ramiro. Ramiro's going to run back to try to get the ball. We're not going to see that from Luis Muriel, unfortunately. He's just a striker. He's just a 9. And I think in Oscar Pareja's system, everybody runs. Everyone. Even Pasalic, you saw him deep against NYCFC as well. So I'm like, is this Dagger Dan or is it Pasalic? But that's how Oscar likes to play. So, but I feel like I agree with John on this starting 11. I think this is how Orlando City is going to play against the Redbulls.
It's going to be a high energy game.
Very high.
I'm sure Andrew hates that because he hears that all the time, but it will be, and that's the truth. And I think that you got to play players that will match that energy, and that's just not Muriel.
There you go.
It's when you're talking about Choupo-Moting, I was like, "Yo, this sounds very familiar."
These are Moting Choupo. These are Moting Choupo.
Yeah, we know what that's like when you've got an aging, ex-European who's come over, who's can't run so good anymore and can't score as many goals as he used to.
But how much do you pay for Choupo-Moting, Andrew?
Yeah, that's a good question. Would you rather have Luis Muriel or would you still prefer Choupo-Moting?
No, I think Choupo-Moting is the pick here. I think
wow.
I think he fits with Emil Forsberg better than Luis Muriel would. That's the only reason. I think because we're still early in the season, so they're still working it out. But I think as we get down the line, I think he will fit with Forsberg way better than Muriel will. I think they're just two different players.
We'll do a trade.
You want to take that DP contract? Go right
ahead.
It's
going to help nobody. A trade DP for DP that nobody wants.
Yeah, but we can still buy Muriel down. I think, right? He's still relatively cheap compared to
what we're paying. Very, very, very expensive. It's
Is he on the
$4 million a year? Something crazy.
Yeah, that's a bit excessive, but it should be fun.
But hey, he's got an assist and a goal so far in the year. So I'm out here saying, make me eat my words, please. Yeah. I will happily stand up. I will stand up at the end of the year and clap and say, I'm sorry, Muriel, and make a formal apology. If the man balls out,
you have to say
I will happily.
You have to say it in Spanish.
And I will learn it in Spanish. I will send it to his DMs in Spanish of me apologizing. Anyway, enough about that. I want to say, Andrew, what is your score prediction for this game? Having everything we've talked about, what do you got?
I have no idea. I couldn't pick it to save my life.
You could just give us like a win or a draw. You don't have to be literally the score if you don't want.
At home, high press. I think we're going to be a little bit more energized. We got the give me 2-1 Red Bull.
Is it going to be packed, the game?
No, absolutely not. It's 2:30 on a Saturday. Kids are playing soccer. Kids are probably gonna be freezing too, to be fair. I mean, I'm in South Carolina. It's 45 degrees here, so can't imagine how cold it's gonna be there. It's gonna be thin, if I had to guess.
Okay, I'll go 3-1 Orlando.
The positivity here, Luis,
and then we got a penalty kick save by Pedro Gallese.
Wow,
I love
Luis's
it.
full redemption mode.
There you go,
Okay,
full
great.
redemption.
Andrew, we invited you on just to predict wins against your team. No, I'm going.
There
I'm
you
going
go.
1-1. I'm going
Oh,
1-1. I
okay.
feel like
That's
this
more
is
realistic. That's more
I feel like
realistic.
this is a 1-1 all over it. Oh, the dog. The dog
Yeah.
didn't like that prediction.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
like that one.
Well, 1-1 is a little bit more realistic for sure. But I just feel like, I'm curious to see. We've seen the difference in pitch now. Now we're playing in actually a real pitch now, compared to what we played against NYCFC. But
I will just sorry, I just want to throw it out there. We've only conceded once all season in 200
Yeah.
270 minutes, and that's against a Cincinnati side where we should have held them zeros. We had one mistake that cost us. A Nashville side that is getting better is not okay, but then this Atlanta side that's supposed to be the best attack in the league according to everybody, including myself. I'm being made to look stupid every single week, but we are as strong as we'd like to be back there. It's the attack that's a problem. So I think three is a bit excessive. I think 1-1's okay. 3, I think that's crazy.
now that friendly that you guys play against San Diego, did you guys took it was it like the starting lineup like we see now, or
Yeah.
was it
So
just like
from what I heard, I didn't see it myself. I was coaching at the time, but it did sound like we started the 11 and then rotated out, and that's where the only person who was left was Coronel. So,
Corona?
it fell apart quickly, and I think most of what San Diego did was their starting 11. And I mean, listen, you see how they're doing, right? So that wasn't a fluke at all. They've been very good. So, yeah, I'm not worried about our back line from that game. Like I said, I think they fit the system well. And I think the only worry that we're going to have is if we decide to play too high, right? If we press you high
Yeah.
and they follow, right? Usually we'd rather give up the ball in front of us where our midfielders can track back and work it than step really high and let the ball go over all the way to the top, because we don't have the pace to recover it, especially with Angulo and Pasalic running in behind us. That's going to be a problem. So
Now, I wanted to ask you also, how's the atmosphere with the fans? Like, for example, you had a really tough schedule, man. I mean, you're talking about, you've had play against Atlanta, you had to play against Nashville, which obviously you obtained the win, and I'm sure people got very excited playing at home. Then you got Cincy away, and that was a little tough, right? But it's still, since it's a top contender, holding them at just 1 goal, I think it's pretty impressive, And then you're getting Orlando City, you get in Toronto. So let's say, for example, right now your record is, literally 1 win and 2 losses, right? So let's say in this game against us, you lose. Are fans gonna be ready to throw away the season?
No, I don't think so. I think we're still feeling pretty good. You always are going to have your your group of fans who are calling
Because
for
then
the
after
coach's head
that,
after.
because after that you play Toronto, and I think
Yeah.
this Red Bull team is so much talented compared to Toronto. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
I think
and
you guys gonna be playing at home as well.
yeah, and weirdly enough, right? We get Orlando,
Yeah.
we're done with you guys by like mid-April, which
Yeah.
I think is crazy. But if you
It's
look at it, right,
insane.
we've gone through Cincinnati, Atlanta, and then we get Orlando and Orlando. But between Orlando and Orlando, it's Toronto, New England, Chicago. Like,
Yeah, there you go.
realistically, we should be top 2 or 3 by the end of that run. Mid-April, if we're not in the, and then even after Orlando, it's DC, Montreal. So by the beginning of May, if we're not punching for top 4, top 2, like, yeah, then we're okay. We're in a little bit of an issue. But
And because in May, John May, the Red Bulls have talk about their schedule: Miami Galaxy, then you travel to Nashville for the part 2, and then the
Derby
Hudson
next.
City Derby.
Yeah.
Hudson River, sorry, Hudson City.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we're gonna ebb and flow through this year, and like I said, when we go down and we maybe are dropping points we would expect to be picking up, it's gonna be stressful. But I think last year's run, with the caveat of all the injuries we had leading up to it, especially Emil Forsberg, right? the fact that we got to where we were, I think the coach and the team have earned themselves more slack than any other coach or team have had before in the last couple of years, right? The last couple of years, it's been, youth prospects, churn through them, develop and sell. We don't care about winning. Now it's like, okay, you guys have shown that you have committed money, you've committed resources, you've committed coaching, you put in effort to try and get us there. At least in my opinion, I think we're giving them the respect that or the least that they deserve, right? The idea that you've done enough to be like, okay, you guys look okay. You guys can slip up a little bit. It'll be okay. But don't go too far. Otherwise, then we're going to be upset.
There you go. John, anything else you want to add before we go?
No, I could talk all day with Andrew, and I encourage all of you to go and check out his podcast that he does, The Designated Players. Andrew, tell everybody about your podcast.
Yeah. So we are the Designated Players. I say we. I still speak for Connor. He'll be back eventually. I don't know when. he's still working. He's still got busy season going on. So, but we are the Designated Players. We do MLS news and MLS history. So basically, anytime something goes on in this wild, funky, funny league, we will react to it. We actually just posted one on just today, just an hour ago, with Eli Lesser TV. We were talking about the Apple TV deal, right? Some of the issues that we've had were the graphics stink and the paywall and things like that. So we talked about that. We're very honest right there. We know that this league is not perfect and it can be better, right? Very simply. But at the end of the day, we like it, we love it, it's ours, and we work on it. And then also, if you are a new fan, we do MLS history. So we have a list of 500 fan-selected moments from MLS history, starting from 1996 all the way to last year's MLS Cup run. And we will dive into those stories and retell them to the best of our ability with guests and kind of people who were there, so you can kind of get a feel for why other teams or fans like their team, right? And that's kind of what we do. And then we do other fun stuff, pack openings and fun games and stuff like that. Just stuff to keep things light and fun. But if you like any of that, come check us out. I really appreciate you guys having us because like you said, John, we could talk all day, and we probably would if you guys didn't cut us off. So thanks so much for having us again.
No problem.
I keep bumping into Andrew on other podcasts whenever you're going on other podcasts, and then they brought people on, and then there's me and Andrew. So he's a great guy. I want to thank him very much for coming out today.
Thank you, Andrew.
Luis, do you want to wrap us up, because we're going to go and talk about our other team. Orlando Pride is next on the agenda as we get ready for our season opener for them on Friday.
For sure. Don't forget to subscribe. We're Loud and Proud Orlando, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, X, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook as well. LP_podcasts on X. Subscribe, drop us a thumbs up, and your comment. We'll be able to reply to it on the next live stream. We're running to do the Pride Pod, so stay tuned. We're going to be coming back in the next few minutes. Thank you, Andrew, for everything. And vamos Orlando. Take care, guys. Have a good one.
See ya.